right. Would it be okay if I take a quick break from job hunting? And I wanted to circle back to the thing that happened just the other day at my house where I saw reality change on me. And this kind of ties into whenever you share whatever your experience is with the Mandela effect or reality changing and things like that. I started doing this because for me it was important to just document these things as they're happening while the memory is fresh, while it just occurred. It's not a memory from years back. This is stuff that was happening in the moment, within an hour, a day, a week, a month. These things were fresh. They were not distant memories that I was having. Things were actually actively changing pretty hardcore. But then you always get those who object. They object and say, I'm not offering any proof. It's just my word. And it comes down to, what should the burden of proof be? Well, if you're just sharing your experience to others who have had similar experiences, the burden of proof isn't that great. It's not like I'm going out to the world saying, you must believe this. You should believe my experience that I'm sharing. This is how it happened. I think there is a good place for offering evidence that reality can shift, and the Mandela effect is not just misremembering. But for most of my videos, it has been saying this is what happened to me, and this is my level of certainty. So it's not that often anymore where I have one that I've got this 100% certainty. So it's important for me to just circle back to this and talk about just the other day, just this week, I've been working on my other house. My adult son stays there, and it's got a leak under the slab. The sewer line is broken. It's got foundation issues. So I'm looking at the clean out at the front of the house. This is where we went in with the camera. And I noticed that there's this little piece of concrete, this circle concrete that I'd stuck over the clean out so that, snakes wouldn't go down there or whatever. Dirt. You don't want anything really dropping down into the line. But I noticed when I was standing there, it was like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Sun hits the house just perfect at that time. It was well lit. And I noticed that this concrete block, this circle, was painted. It was painted brown. And I thought, well, I wonder when that happened. I don't remember doing that. But I haven't lived here for a couple of years. Could have been one of my kids playing around with paint. Maybe somebody did it. Maybe, who knows? Who knows how these things happen? Or maybe I did it and just didn't remember, but no memory of painting that thing. And I thought to myself, this is probably a brown that I have in the garage somewhere. I've got all kinds of old spray paint. I'll bet I have that color up there. But it puzzled me as to when it was painted. So not 48 hours goes by, because I'm at the house every day. And I'm looking at that concrete, and it's not painted now. Within 48 hours of me noticing that it was painted brown and wondering how it got painted, it was not. So I mentioned that in the video, my last video, and then I went back the next day and I went to check the garage to see if in the garage I had a brown color paint, and sure enough I did. Right there on the shelf, brown paint, never been used. It was a new can when I examined it. You can tell if it's a new can because if it's not, there's a little bit of spray, usually residue left around the nozzle. Also, the cap was super hard to get off, but why not? I went ahead and painted the thing. I painted it brown just to see, and yeah, that came out exactly to be what I saw 2 days prior. Exactly the color. So something occurred in reality where it was that color, and then it changed, it wasn't. So I forced it just because I had that color paint in the garage. Anybody listening to this would say, you are making this up. That is total bunk. Anybody could conjure this story up. It's not, I understand the burden of proof, is really not there with this one. But I do want to document and show some pictures of what the difference is and in the full light of day and how easy it is to tell whether or not it's painted or not. And there's no confusion there. It's not like the sun was at a different angle and I thought it was painted when it wasn't. It's not like that at all. It was clearly painted, and then it wasn't, so I painted it. Documenting that just to share the story. This is how reality does sometimes. It changes like that. Now, other burden of proof items, which I've tried to, get people to see that there's something to this more than just mismemory. And if you type in misremembering or Institute of Misremembering, you see all kinds of links and studies about how the brain misremembers things, confabulates. I mean, it's all these studies. There's one thing I noticed when reality was changing around me and I was picking up on the shadowy creatures at a distance and their strong dislike for me noticing things that I'm not supposed to notice. I even saw a gray, an alien, the big-headed, big-eyed gray alien appear, and nobody else saw it. In a large group of people, nobody else saw this thing. Those kind of things were being presented to me. You could say I was delusional, but whatever, I was seeing it, and I knew that reality or the shadowy things or whatever the archons, whatever was pulling the strings of this not quite real place, they did not like. They were very bothered at my acknowledgement and recognition that reality changes. And they didn't want me to share that information to anybody. Now, for burden of proof, we say things like, where do these quotes come up that never happened? Like, Lucy, you've got some splaining to do. We all know it. Heard it. It doesn't exist. Say goodnight, Gracie. And she repeats back, say goodnight, Gracie. That ditzy little goodnight, Gracie is what she said. Never happened. The mirror, mirror on the wall. I mean, when people who are hardcore Mandela affected are challenged and asked to give proof, we say things like, don't you remember mirror, mirror on the wall? Don't you remember Gordon's fish sticks? Don't you remember Little Tykes being spelled Tykes? I mean, it's Thanksgiving time. Stouffer's stovetop stuffing. What more proof do you need? It never existed. We're pulling our hair out because it's so hard to accept that these just iconic things are not instantly recognized and acknowledged as having changed. It's amazing. Instead, we are accused of having problems with our own memory and misremembering. One of the better burdens or better proofs I feel that's out there, and there's a number like this, but some of the hardcore ones is like the thinker. You have the thinker. Grew up my whole life knowing that it was fist to forehead. You've got George Bernard Shaw posing fist to forehead. You've got groups of people, not just once, but there's a number of cases where people pose in front of the statue with their fist to the forehead. But now the statue behind them is no longer doing that. It makes absolutely no sense. You've got TV personalities who are routinely doing that fist to the forehead. It means to think about it. I mean, think about it. Why would that be going on? Why would we all remember this? Why would there be live shots of people posing like that and it never happened? Think about it. It's amazing that we need more proof than that. That's not enough even. But reality itself seems to be very resistant, and it's always been very resistant to the idea that, or resistant to the idea or suggestion to anybody that reality is not consistent. It does not want anyone to think along those lines. But why? And recently I heard something, and I like to listen to other people's points of views because I hate groupthink in all of its forms. I think ideas are meant to be challenged, and I look for, the fresh idea, the something I haven't thought of before. That's why I read David Icke's book. I'm looking for that thing that just I haven't pondered enough, or just shedding light on something that's new. So I'll listen to researchers, and I greatly appreciate the time that they've spent, the energy and effort they've put into reading and researching and trying to find things out. And I benefit from all of their labor. Unfairly, I benefit from all of their labor by getting a quick summary of their research. And then it might be unfair of me to poo-poo their idea so quickly when I have not invested the same amount of time that they have. But I have to lean on, when I'm trying to determine what this is all about, I do lean upon my own experience a lot with it. And I share it just to see if it's helpful. One question that has come up is, why does reality, if it's true, if my perception that reality is really not wanting people to know anything out of the ordinary here, they don't want people to recognize the changes. If that's true, why would that be? What would be its motivation to keep people in the dark? What is the motivation for reality itself to keep people in their lane and to not get out of their lane? When I was first Mandela affected, I used to be frustrated that everything felt like, every conversation felt so robotic. Like there was approved conversations, acceptable conversations, and then there was everything I wanted to talk about. But it was okay to talk about going on a cruise, whatever the news was raving about, our kids, college, something we learned at work. It was okay. These are acceptable forms of conversation. Talking about our successes at, whatever, work, life, kids, pleasurable trips. It was like the world was like Facebook in a lot of ways, little conversations that were acceptable under this little staying in this box, but don't get outside of that box. And I grew pretty weary and bored of that same, what felt to be scripted, like a scripted conversation that I was forced to role play in order to fit in with the world at large. I was just tired of it, tired of having to fit in. So of course I would bring up the Mandela effect, which I thought was exciting, and how the reality can change with everybody, and that would upset family members for, they definitely didn't want me to talk about this. And more than just them, there was a behind the scenes force that was resistant to me talking about it, and that just encouraged me to talk about it more. The rebellion in me, I wanted to push that. So recently someone, I've heard a lot of comments out there. A lot of you believe in the Loosh factory. A lot of you believe in the archonic negative force. And sometimes that negative force or negative, being, the intentions of the force trying to control us, that can get confused with, well, where does God play in all this? Is God being over-controlling? Is God a negative force? That you've got this light versus dark tug-of-war question that comes up, but a fresh idea, I thought, that came from all this was if this reality, this created reality, and to say that it's a construct is just another way of saying something created it, and we are creations inside of it. So what if the suggestion of why these beings, these dark, shadowy beings, do not want anyone to get out of their lane, and they do not want people to recognize that reality changes around them. The reason for that could be that it's a drain on their resources. That there's a suggestion that the things behind the scenes of reality that pull these strings have to put work into maintaining the illusion. The illusion takes resources and energy from them. So those of us who are breaking away from the belief in it and our engagement in reality, meaning we're just not as interested, we're more detached because we know that it's fake. That the energy they have to put in for us is higher now. They have to do more. They have to work harder to keep us invested. Because the shadowy creatures are a bit narcissistic in that they want your full attention and belief in this reality construct that you're in. They do not want you to notice that a piece of gray concrete was painted one day and then not painted the next. You're not supposed to notice that type of stuff. Why did that even happen? Is it a glitch, something out of their control, a byproduct of some kind of shifting sand thing? Did I do it? That's a suggestion that somehow my energy and looking at the foundation problem and sewer leak that I have at this house, and here I am, an unemployed guy staring at a $30,000 repair. Did that somehow have an effect on the painting or not painting of that concrete cover? I don't know. All these questions, but it is an interesting idea that those controlling or pulling the strings of the illusion have a limited amount of resource, and it takes more resource for them to control those of us who keep pointing it out and noticing that this place isn't quite here. Burden of proof? I don't even try anymore. I mean, if somebody doesn't remember Stouffer's stovetop stuffing at this time of year, instead of potatoes, you don't remember. I mean, we never just said stovetop stuffing. It was the whole phrase. It was it all together. Stouffer, stovetop stuffing. It ran together naturally. It always was. So the mirror, mirror on the wall. It always was. And yet, here we are, still being asked to present more evidence, more proof. The burden of proof to those who don't believe. Just the flat obviousness of it is not enough for them. Well, anyway, mainly I think I wanted to show a picture of what I was talking about. I wanted you to clearly understand the significance of that change for me that happened this week. That, I don't get one that's 100% like that too often. So it's nice to have one. And sorry if I was a little depressed about losing my job. That's always a hard pill to swallow, and it's depressing. So a little better spirits today. Just focusing on what do I really want here. The biggest thing I've realized that I'm trying to do, of course, that house there with the foundation problem, I was hoping for that to be something I could sell at a profit and maybe use that money to go into retirement, maybe get out of the city, live in the country, be self-sufficient. Those are all goals. These problems with that house and not having employment to fix it up and sell it, that strikes against that goal. And then I've got 1 year for my son to finish college. He's an electrical engineer. He's got an internship going on. He's got a job waiting for him. That's a good job if we can just get him to that finish line. And I really wanted to keep helping with that. That's a huge goal for me to see. I mean, he's great grades, smart kid. I just want to see this finish, and we're in our last stretch, 5th year of school, and it's been a sacrifice, that's for sure. Other than that, our special needs kids do have some more services with the schools that are in the city, but I would be happy and fine with homeschooling in the country. there's disagreement in the household about that. And that's it. So I could start applying for unemployment, which is just a fraction. It doesn't really cut it. It's not going to cut it. And I haven't even started paperwork on that because I do have an interview today, and I have an interview on Sunday. If either of those are promising, I will roll into one of those. The one on Sunday, I'm meeting a CFO of a company who's flying in on Sunday, and I'm meeting him downtown at a hotel to discuss a pretty good position. I get excited about that one. So if that comes about, I'll tell you about it. But this whole looking for a job, it's not my favorite thing to do. I mean, it reminds me of dating. Back when those days were happening. Every time you put in an application, it's just like asking somebody out. And then, you put so many, out there. You throw so many out there, and sometimes you get a response saying, "We're looking over your qualifications. We're looking over. We just wanted to let you know that we're taking the time. We're taking the time to notice you." And then a few days later, you get the unfortunately email where they've moved on to others. But if you do get the interview, that's kind of like going on the date, and you get the date, you put on your nice clothes, and you make yourself as presentable as you can. You even wear deodorant. You go on the date, and then it's like they ghost you. You never hear from them again. That's it. It's like you're like, what happened? What did I do wrong? Are the girls talking bad about me behind the scenes? That's what it feels like. It feels like dating. So get an interview, it's like going on a date. Get a second interview, that's a good sign. You get a second date. And right now I've only had a few interviews, and then I get ghosted after that. I'm getting used to the rejection. It you have to get, toughens you up, gets thicker skin. But I've had plenty of the rejection emails and ghosted a few times after the first interview. But this one on Sunday, this could be a winner chicken dinner. I would like it, and really, it's the big goal here is to get my son to finish this degree and fix that house up and be able to sell it next year, and hopefully get everybody to agree to move to the country and get off grid. That would be my ideal. That's and I appreciate some of the comments and a lot of support, a lot of supportive, encouraging comments. I do appreciate it. And yes, I would love to have a role that I'm not chained to a desk all day. I'm hyperactive. I just don't enjoy sitting behind a computer monitor all day long. I can do it like 30, 40, maybe even 50% of the time, but I like to move around and get out there. I like a team. I usually do best with a team of guys, kind of blue collar rough. I don't know. That's just been the environment, the trades environment, kind of a rougher environment. But I've enjoyed that, and I like the blue collar arena, kind of. When I say blue collar, I mean just like hands-on physical work. Maybe I'm not doing as much of it. I'm coordinating a lot of it, but I've liked that world, and this job on Sunday would be exactly that. So we'll see if that one comes through, and if not, we will keep trying for those dates and making ourselves look good, and trying to land one that helps us achieve our goals. But Monday, I'll probably start the process of the unemployment claim if this doesn't go well on Sunday, if it's not looking good. So there's the update. Love your thoughts about burden of proof, and what do you think about that concrete circle thing? All I can say, this is my burden of proof here is pathetic. All I can say is I promise you this thing was brown. It was clearly brown. This isn't a distant memory. This just happened. And I odd. I know it seems a little too coincidental, but I did have that can of paint in my garage. And some of those cans, I swear, some of that paint up there on that shelf, they're probably 10 years old, some of them. That one there wasn't, but... All right, sorry, I had to pause there because my phone was ringing. It was Christy, who is a senior care helper with such of a, soft voice, just such of a caring soul. Of course, it was a recording, a bot, whatever. But I've been getting a lot of these senior calls lately. I don't like that. I don't like how I've got whatever I say about getting old, mid-50s, and I'm getting all these calls for ARP, hearing aids, senior care. It's just flooded. That's my spam now, but it's a little insulting. But that pretty much wraps up that. I should get back to it. I should get back to doing something. Clean up my suit a little bit. Get ready for this interview at 2 today. All right. God bless. One final comment. About 2 minutes in there, I said it's not too often where I have this level of certainty. I want to clarify. I've got many reality switches that I've got 100% certain of, just 100% certain. But I'd say it's been, about 6 months since something has happened where I'm like, wow, that's right. You're left speechless, because it's so concrete. Like in this example, it was a piece of concrete that was painted, and it just happened. It's fresh. It's not a distant memory. So, at one point in my life, these things were happening every other day, and it slowed down. It got to the point where I actually saw a building that I frequented for 10 years change locations. I mean, it's stuff like that. But no, I don't mean that I'm not 100% certain on many. I mean, I have many that I'm 100% certain. This one is just a very solid change that happened recently, and it's important that I document these when they occur. Anyway, just wanted to add that.